Hello and welcome back to the Gold Nugget Podcast, and we are here to talk about breakthroughs. If you don't know what a breakthrough is, it is a discovery or an event that helps you to improve a situation or provide an answer to a problem. So that will be the main topic of today's podcast. My personal breakthrough was actually when I went to the con and helped my friends. So if you listen to last week's podcast, you'll know a little bit about that. But in case you're a new listener, I practically helped out a friend, and it just reignited my love for art. And it kind of just pushed me towards wanting to do more with it. Mercy?
Yeah.
Any personal breakthroughs?
Oh my goodness, my personal breakthrough. What is it? It wasn't as I guess the nice as yours, where you're like, oh my goodness, I'm being inspired by like all this art around me or anything. Mine was definitely a jumping off point of feeling like, in a good place mentally, where I knew who I was. I knew I was like a really eccentric. I was always called the goblin friend, but I never realized that I was still like putting myself out in service to other people. And my mental breakthrough was being, and the word isn't selfish, but it was just like being proud of myself. And I learned that, just thinking about it and just like really airing out like a lot of what I had going on. And that was my breakthrough. That was my mental breakthrough.
I love that. Yes.
What is it? But funny enough, this podcast episode wasn't called Mental Breakdowns, as like most kind of like the per usual now, but like now these are like the mental breakthroughs. It's supposed to be, the encouraging episode.
Yep. No, 100%. I reckon I love the breakthrough because it's more of a push towards the desired goal. Instead of like breakdown, it's kind of like you're still stuck in that past mentality. So no, I'm excited. I'm excited to get into it. So
let's go back in the mines.
I knew you were gonna say it. I was waiting. I'm like, she's gonna say it. I'm like, she's gonna fucking say it.
We're gonna put it on a shirt. All right, kids, back in the mines.
Let's go.
Enter
Gold
I swear I'll put it on a shirt. Is that not a good tagline?
No.
I say with no humanity. Oh my god. But what we were just like I know I pinched on it a little bit, but like when it came to my mental breakthrough, obviously very different from the way yours was. And you could have multiple mental breakthroughs. I'm not saying it's just the one you've had ever. Could you fucking imagine? But
yeah, just like going on live, completely normal, goes to one con.
Oh my god! No, I went to one anime con, changed everything.
Changed my whole life.
I had consciousness until I was like 21, and it was at an anime convention. But mine was it was, oh my god, because I remember so vividly just feeling so. The word was uncomfortable, but like you're always in hindsight when those things happen, where you're like dissatisfied and just at uneased, and you can't pinpoint it, but you can, in retrospect, you're like, oh god, I was in a bad place at that time. And I kind of knew it, but really the mental breakthrough was it really was airing out my discomforts when it came to really anything. And it mostly was in the way that I was being treated by really everyone. I let everyone, my friends, my relationship, my workplace, I let it just walk all over me. And obviously I wasn't being abused. Let's put it this way. There was no like hard feelings. It was definitely me saying yes to a lot of things and never putting the no down, because I mean, it felt like I was at service to everyone, and now the whole thing is I fight for my peace,
Yep.
And I have to use the word fight, because usually I think it's natural. I think it's super healthy and natural if somebody just goes about their day not having these feelings of I'm gonna bend over backwards for this person, when you don't have to, and you don't have to do anything. And that's the mental breakthrough I had, where I was like, I don't have to do anything like that. And
No.
it's my choice that I'm doing it. And it was this mental and physical release. Like, like when you're at the chiropractor and then like 7 years of trauma just like exit your body. I literally was like, ah. Because the whole thing is like, if something, oh my gosh, and I think I told you, I don't know what the conversation was, but you were telling me like, oh my gosh, this thing I don't want to say what I'm saying, so I shouldn't. And I told you, I was just like, dude, like, if it makes you uncomfortable, then you have to say it.
Yeah. No, because it's a form of a release too.
Yeah,
it's a form of release too. Yeah, no, you're right there. Like 100%. When you said that, I was like, no, you're right, because when you keep things bottled up, you're hindering. If we're linking it back to the previous podcast, like it causes all those blockages.
The stuck feelings.
The stuck feeling.
I said it clears up your mental K, like your Q line, like you have all these tabs open on your computer. It clears them up once you like look through them.
And then your computer goes faster.
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't. I wasn't gonna make a technological.
No, but I love it.
That makes so much. Your computer runs faster. Oh my god,
computer runs faster.
No, it's true. Like you're stopped up, it's slowed down, and then like as soon as you like release all of them, it's all good. It works fine. And I always. It was always a thing, like, people say dirty laundry. It's not so cut and dry. It always felt to me like I was being haunted. Like, it was just, it was in my mind every day. And, like, the best thing I ever had was, I would wake up now, because I, would air all my, shit out. Anything that made me uncomfortable, I say it now. And it sucks. But it's not courage.
You're being authentic, though.
Yeah.
You're being authentic. You're stepping into your own power. And
exactly.
You feel like yourself again. You're not playing a role to fit in with everyone else, because that's exhausting, and sometimes that is also a challenge too, because everyone tends to kind of play their own role to fit in. So it's conflicting, but I feel like now, like, when you get to a point in life where you try and snap out of that mentality, now it's to keep up with it. So you got to like look back at, certain things may trigger your old version, and you kind of like feel like you need to step back a bit, but you don't want to. So I do this thing where sometimes if I find a trigger that's poking at me, where I'm tempted to go back a few steps in my journey, I identify what it is and I break it down. So it's identifying those blockages, recognizing the signs.
When you mean break down, do you mean like you break it down into small parts, or you like cripple emotionally?
No, breaking down the small parts, the details, the fragments, the memory. I call them memory fragments.
That's not the episode.
The breakdown. When you said breakdown, I was thinking of like dance breakdown. Like, I can boogie.
Oh my god, Zoe, we live two different lives to where if breakdown to you means dancing and not the weekly thing that happens.
Oh my god. Oh, I can break it down. Boogie. I love it.
I say with like tears, but like fucking yeah, and I always thought it was a courageous thing, but I'm thinking to myself in hindsight, no, like it shouldn't be a thing that is about feeling brave to say no. This should just already be the reality. But as you understand how we grown up to where we have to be in service to everyone to feel in control, and we feel out of control when we have to ask for our own boundaries to be respected. It's not it's not natural when it really and I mean it really should be natural. And I give myself grace, obviously, because I found what really works for me in my life. And what really works for me is just feeling really just emboldened and proud. Like, a lot of people gave me this mindset, and this is where it comes to the mental breakthrough I had where I find shit that actually like works for me. It's not the whole go on a walk every day or, say some mantras to yourself in the mirror it never it doesn't work because maybe it works for, say, if I take you for example, Zoe, maybe it works for you. It'll never work for me. That's just not how my mind aligns.
With different people. Each person's
Exactly.
different. Every person's gonna find a different way to cope and help with their breakthroughs. And it's so true. I feel like saying one thing, it's someone might turn around and listen and be like, well, that doesn't work for me. Am I going to be stuck forever? That's where they, that's how they're going to feel. And that's not the case. Each person's going to find something different. What works for you may not work for me, vice versa. So no, you're completely correct.
The way that it always was to me is that I would see these idealized images of like how life is, like the gym bros or like the health vloggers. Like everything was always a picturesque thing of like, oh, if I follow that routine, this will work. But really, like I said with the whole courageous thing, it never worked for me to identify it as courage. What worked for me was to identify it as being emboldened, really taking my life into hands that weren't like, be courageous to say no. It was always like, no, I deserve to say no. I was born on this earth like everyone else. I deserve to have the same time in the sun as everyone else because it's my right as a human. Not doesn't matter where I am or where I'm from. It's my right. I deserve to have these things respected. And that's what really worked for me when it comes to the lifestyle of like me seeing it idealized. Like I said, with like the vloggers and like the everyone who's trying to have a healthy lifestyle. I will not be somebody in the gym all the time unless, I like it. But right now I don't like it. I don't live my life right now the way that a lot of people think that you should. And I personally am happier because of it. It was so hard for me when I was going through, getting out of depression and everything, when I was like, you have to walk every day, exercise, eat a healthy
and then you punish yourself. Then you punish yourself for not doing those things that should be making you feel better.
Yes.
If anything, it's making you worse because it's like, I can't do that. So that hinders you.
Right.
That creates the blockages. That, that is it puts you back in that mentality of, I can't do this, I can't do this.
Well, how I viewed it was like, it not only punishes you when you don't do it, but it punishes you for feeling like, why don't I like it when I do this? And that's a whole different...
It gets worse. It gets worse, right? When the things that used to make you happy isn't hitting the same anymore. And that's when you know there's something not right. That's that one there. I've gone through that personally myself, where, I love art. I love drawing. Used to draw every single day. And then, mid this year, there was a point where I was drawing and I wasn't enjoying it. I was like, this is weird. This is not right. It's not feeling the same. Why? I'd play a video game. I was bored after an hour, where I could sit an unhealthy amount of time. I'm sure there's gamers out there, obviously you play more than 4+ hours. I'll say that as a humble way to not out myself.
4,000 hours of Pokemon?
No, 4+.
Oh, 4+ hours. I thought you said 4,000, and I just was like,
no.
What? What fucking game is that long?
That's why I said 4+ to humble myself.
Oh, okay,
just
gotcha,
to make it not a long amount of time. But obviously, gamers, you understand. But, and it was hitting right. I would go to get on a game after an hour. It wasn't feeling right. And it's the mindset. It all comes down to your mindset.
I would say it's like a personal feng shui that you have to find. Like, if you don't like cooking, then don't buy all these groceries and veggies. Like, if you don't like it, obviously, like, the health thing is like, eat a vegetable and fresh things every day. But damn it, if you like are at the bottom and you have to eat something, find something that's easy to... If cereal is the only thing you can make at the moment, or not even make a sandwich, but just eat the ingredients... Like, just how it's always been told to me is that you break it down to
Mm-hmm.
the small things, you know, eat one lettuce and then slowly the momentum goes into you eating the whole salad. And I've told you this before, where it's when you get on a path to where your goal isn't um necessarily a goal, it's the journey of being a part of several
Yeah.
goals. Like the whole quote was, people that enjoy the journey will always walk further than the people who love the destination.
Yeah, and sometimes not everyone knows what they want to do in life. They don't know their end goal. They don't know what purpose they want. And that is also something that makes people feel stuck, because if they don't know where they're going, because it's very pushed in life to be like, do you know what you're doing in life? You know, and go for it. Some people don't know, and that's okay. I feel like people need to normalize not knowing
Right.
their end goal, because maybe they haven't had the chance to delve into certain passions to strike that breakthrough of, oh, I enjoy this, I want to do this.
Right. Well, what is it? I do think that whenever it comes to you and me, because we were like talking about, you know, what we were gonna say for this episode, and we looked at each other and we're like, oh, I've kind of already like learned that lesson a long time ago. But you know,
Yeah,
it's just different the way we have our mental breakthroughs. And what you just said reminded me. I was like, oh, because to me, I've always had my goals in my. I have goals out the ass. You know, it's just a matter of getting there. But for you,
I
what you're saying
didn't.
is like, I don't know what I'm doing, you know?
Yeah,
And
I knew
was
in
it
the
the anime
past.
convention?
No, but no, so when I was young, it was very like, oh, I want to work with animals. I want to be a vet. I'd, you
Mm-hmm.
know, learn. I loved animals, whatnot. And then I got my first like experience. You know, when you do the experience when you're in high school, primary school.
Yeah.
I don't know
Like
how
the
you're.
volunteer work
Yeah, the
or
volunteer work when you're like young. I did a bit of that and realized I don't want to do this, so I left. Then I was puzzled. Yeah, no, it's true, because I was like, I don't want to put down animals because I love animals. So that was a conflict there. I was like, I don't know what to do with my life. Then I love plants. I love, you know, nature. And I was thinking, again, I got my, if you listened to last week, you know that I got my horticulture certificate. And I was like, oh, I'm going to do something with this because I
oh, don't
absolutely
say
love,
certificate. You got a degree.
yeah, well, degree, yeah.
4 years of college for a certificate. Bullshit. You got 4 years in college for a degree.
I did it, and then I love it. So I love animals, I love plants, and it was more. Look, I took away the experience I did with those because it's personal, and personal to me because I enjoy it. But the work side of it, I turned around and went, I don't know what to do with this because I don't really want to dwell in that work side. Like, I love it, but I don't have interest. Then again, stuck wandering. And it was that, when am I going to have that breakthrough of what I'm going to do with my fucking life? Because I feel like I'm walking endlessly. You know, I'm watching my
Mm-hmm.
friends grow. I'm in my mid-20s, people getting married, people are, you know,
Oh my
doing
god.
things with their lives. And I feel like I'm walking with my head in the sand. And it's that whole when
It's that
moment.
emulating thing that we were talking
It's,
about last week,
yeah.
where we were like, we feel stuck because we're seeing how other people are doing it in
Yes.
their like highest moment. Because when you were saying a second, it was like, I'm watching people get married and this and that and the other, and it's just like, dude, like that's a lot to put on your shoulders. Is why isn't that me?
It's that reminder of, no, each person's on their own path. Like, I will get there. It just means that I've got a few more side quests I need to do. And that's the exciting thing,
Oh my
because
god, you
I
fucking
feel, I
nerd.
know, these stupid little, I know, you know, judging
Hello,
me.
gamers.
I just means I got more side quests that I need to do, you know.
Right.
And that's exciting too, because, you know, why rush into things? I still feel young. I still feel like I got the mentality of a 15-year-old, and I'm in my mid
Mm-hmm.
20s. I still feel like I've got so much more to give. And it's that bringing that back down and changing the mindset. It really does come to your mindset and how you view things. If you want to view your life on level 5, the hardest difficulty, then you will live your life on the hardest difficulty. It's the mindset. You can play life at an easy level if you choose to.
Well, what is it? How would you like? How did you figure that out? because I'll say everything has been on like hard mode personally, but how did you figure it out? What was that mental breakthrough?
I think it was reading people. Like, I'd stand there, I became more of a observer than involving myself in things, like in crowds or, you know, groups of people will talk. I'd observe their behaviors and realize at the end of the day, humans are very selfish creatures. And at the end of the day, we are trying to do our best in life.
Is it a thing where you saw like that you're not the only one who's struggling kind of thing, where like there
Yeah,
is a complexity?
we're all mirrors. We're all mirrors. Like, we all are projecting things on each other. We're all trying to find peace in our own way, whatever that could mean to each person. And it was just that moment of just concentrate on yourself, stay in your own lane, and do what makes you happy, even if at the expense that not everyone's gonna like what you do. And sometimes not everyone will
Mhm.
like that you're happy either, even though you may not be progressing.
Oh my goodness,
I
that
know
is
there's
such
gold
a
nuggets
big
are
one.
coming. I'm mining. It's
We're mining.
I'm mining.
We're mining.
You could not get the end goal and still project yourself as being happy, and people will still not like you for that, because even if they do get that end goal and then they're not happy, that's the missing key. It's the happiness, and the happiness doesn't have to be an external factor or a source. It's all internal. Happiness comes from within. If you're not
Bet.
happy, it's just you lose. It's you on you. You lose. So it's
Holy
the
shit.
yeah, at the end of the day, it's your loss. You lost the game. It's you. You're the
Oh my
player.
goodness.
Yeah,
It's
you're the fucking
all,
player. Yeah.
you're play. Oh my gosh, now I'm gonna have to do the game allegories. You're the one playing
Yes.
the game. The only one who's getting like any sort of reward at the end or loss is gonna be you. And you, like I said, you deserve to be here just like everyone else. You have
Yeah.
every opportunity just like anyone else. And oh my gosh, that's such a good gold nugget.
Ding ding.
When did you I guess my whole thing is like, when did you feel like you've lost it, then regained that sense back?
Honestly, COVID did that. A lot of alone time. Obviously the world, you were forced to kind of stay within a small space. You were kind of forced to look within. A lot of people had their aha moments. A lot of people changed jobs. A lot of people looked at the world differently because we all kind of had that mental break. I feel like everyone had their own mental breakthroughs through COVID too, because they reevaluated their life. That's when I did too, where it was like, okay, I'm tired of having all these expectations that I felt like I had to live up to, and it was stressful. So I just turned around and went, well, if I'm going to seem selfish, then fuck it, I'm going to seem selfish, but I'm going to be happier in the end. I'm not going to continue and repeat generation cycles. Like,
Mm-hmm.
some people find that they can repeat their own family's generational patterns. I didn't want to
Yeah.
do that, so I broke that. So it's stressful. You go through moments where you go, fuck, like, what am I doing? I need to go back into that cycle.
But you're the only one that's winning. Like, I hate to say it as like a winning thing, because it's not a game. As much as people are like, life is a game. No, life isn't a game. It's not about winning. It's that you are
Yeah, it's
gaining.
just at the end of the day, it comes down to perspective. It really does. Your mind is so
Mhm.
powerful. And when you do change and pull out things that do not longer serve you in the path that you're going in, things get easier. You don't get angry as often. Certain things that used to trigger you doesn't phase you anymore. And that's awesome, because
Mhm.
you become your own source of energy, and you keep that energy within. You don't give it
Oh
out as
yeah.
much, because in the past you would have been giving it out and you're drained. Now you're keeping, yeah,
Well,
now
now
that you're
you're
aware,
aware.
you're more, not saying like it's maturity thing, but you do mature in your own journey. There's there's a lot that comes to it. 100%. It's great.
You mentioned that when we were like figuring out what to do with this, you told me you were just like, whenever whatever happened, like when you were a kid, when you still had these like, big, ideas of what you were going to do, and then somehow we slowly, because I'm sure not all at once we lost it, but we slowly lost it as we reached to, this adulthood, or even when we were teenagers and realized that our dreams aren't as tangible, whether it was because of a hindrance in how you grew up, where you grew up, how much money you had, or even just the amount of work. But like how, I guess you were telling me, like, just remember how that feeling was as a kid.
Well, even though I mentioned about me wanting to do animals and plants and whatnot as a kid, I always drew. And it was that, and this is where I bring in that key factor, the remember what you enjoyed as a child, they hold the key to the breakthrough. And I remember writing that down in the notes. And it's so true. Even though I was doing all these things because I felt like society was pulling me in that direction, it was something I had to do because it was the norm, growing up. Oh, you were a vet, you were this, you were that. It's the norm. Normal people do that. I always loved to draw, even as a kid. And in my head, it was that constant, art is not a job. Art is not this. It's just a hobby. You just do it on the side. So growing up, I never did anything with it in terms of wanting it for a job. It's only till now where I turn around and go, that is the key to my partial personal breakthrough, is doing something that I always loved. And it is. Childhood holds the key to your breakthroughs. So, Mercy, have you got anything growing up that you absolutely loved?
Ooh, sis, don't I? No, I think that's beautiful what you said, because it brought me back, because I actually had my own mental breakthrough with this like a couple weeks ago, or even months. Oh my goodness, time's been flying. But what happened was, like I said, and I think I touched on it in the last episode, but I always thought that like fate like ruled my life. I was always I was a religious, person growing in a religious family, Christianity, I'll be honest, and so you know nothing about Christianity. Like it blows my mind that you don't. Like, oh gosh, Australia's amazing. But I always
I'm just a I'm
go
not
ahead.
Christian, so I don't know. There's Christians here in Australia.
Jesus? No, but I've always religion and Christianity have always crippled me so much, because it was always big fucking like questions of like, God is in charge of your life. He has your plan in mind. Everything is a part of something bigger. And to me, forever, until recently, my whole thing was, because I've never succeeded, this is the plan. This is fate. Whether it is fate or God's plan, I always went back and forth. Now I don't believe in any of it, because the mental breakthrough for me was really, and it touches back on the other thing, like I deserve to be here like everyone else. And as soon as I let go of that, just that fucking expectation that whenever I wake up, I'm like, oh, I wake up with a bad mood, which means fate or God does not want me to do anything, so I'm gonna just stay in bed all day and not do anything. Now when I wake up, I'm like, okay, I have a choice now of what I want to do.
Yeah, free will.
It's the free will thing. And it's just, and I feel like when it comes to that, I feel like it's never touched upon. Like I've never heard anybody like say, like, hey, don't believe in that, don't believe in fate, because it's always this like fate and destiny and I'm just like, cut it out, because now I just feel like this is what I'm supposed to do forever, is never amount to anything, because every time I have tried, it has failed. But whenever I look at it from a lens that isn't, I'm bound by the strings of reality or God knows what, I feel like, oh, the reason I failed is because I believed that I was gonna fail. And now I'm doing this, and I'm just like, I can, and I deserve to do whatever I want, and luckily there are luckily, like, law and order exists, so obviously I can do whatever I want, but there will be consequences if I commit a fucking crime. But like, I really mean it when I say it felt so good to have the mental breakthrough that, oh my gosh. Is that like I said, it happened whenever I was like a kid, where I just was stifled the whole time, and it wasn't until adulthood. Now I'm almost 25, where everything's breaking apart, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I exist. This is it. This is what my life is. And it was hard because I did go through depression. So action was something I always had to do. It was always, action leads to momentum. Momentum leads into drive. Drive equals discipline. I have my drive again, I don't have the discipline yet. I don't do the stuff I do every day, but that's, goes
That comes
into
with practice.
exactly.
That comes with practice. Yep, and consistency, and you'll learn your own. What's the word? It's the saying, like, beat to your own drum. Like, you'll find something that works with your consistency. Again, everyone's beats are going to be different, and if it doesn't work for you, don't feel like it's a failure there.
Well, I will say that the things that have worked consistently, and Zoe, we're gonna get a little sappy here on this fucking Gold Nugget podcast, that I will say that what has been, I have never had anything consistent besides obviously my relationship with my boyfriend. It's the only consistent relationship I've had, but you have been just consistently with me through just these, was it, don't fucking cry, this is not the crying episode. This is not the crying episode. That's next week. That's next week when I cry about Sashomaru.
Oh my god.
No, but I was saying that what me and Zoe have been doing before we've done the podcast, the podcast was pretty much a byproduct of what we've been doing, but every week me and Zoe are going on this artist alley journey to where we are going to be selling our art. So we thought, that's a lot of work and discipline and this and that and the other. So every week we set a time and we write out our to-do list for the week, and then we hold each other accountable. Like, I will look at her to-do list on Tuesday and be like, hey, did you do this and this? And Zoe's like, oh, shucks, I have to do that. Oh, you're right, but man, did you do this and this? And I'm like, no, I didn't. And you're like, get on that, man. No. And I'm like, what? You're doing it, I'll fucking do it. You got it. And we've just been doing like shit that is, I'll admit, it's been hard because
it has though. No, but like, it doesn't even have to be art related. Like, we've written down other stuff that we want to do. Like, for example, me cleaning out my shelves. I know, like, it's not a big deal, but I have been letting that go for months. And it wasn't until I wrote it down the list and I did it, and I felt so good afterwards. And it's like little things like that where, little things that you put aside, you actually get up and do it, and you feel rewarded. It's your own reward. You did that. It's like, no one else is gaining from it except yourself. So
it sucks because me and Zoe have done this for the past month and a week now. We're on week number 5, and it's been so rewarding. And we always are like, okay, Zoe, what's the next thing we're gonna do? When really, like, let's pat ourselves on the back real quick of just, the whole thing is that we're doing it, and that was the mental breakthrough for me and Zoe. I'm dragging Zoe into this because I like to think that this has helped her life as much as it helped mine.
100%. No, 100%. It really has, and I'm so excited because obviously we are recording this 1 week before Christmas, so the New Year is very coming around the corner, and it's just that feeling of feeling fresh again. It's like, okay, I feel motivated to do something. So no, 100%. We are definitely pushing each other. We want to do better. And if you ever find someone in your life, like that, brother, family, friends, it doesn't have to be, blood. Find someone that's very similar on journey that can assist you if you can't do it. And if you can't find someone like-minded, you will find someone down the road, but baby steps.
It's baby steps. Well, I wrote it as accountability buddy, but that's not what it is. Like, it's just I want you, Zoe, to do better. And if funny enough, you also want that of me. And I think
Yes.
that, you know,
It's
as much
mutual.
as yeah, and it works.
And there's no it's not a competition either.
No, oh my gosh.
It's not a competition.
Never once have I felt like I was a competitor to you.
I feel like that needs to be another podcast itself. Competition.
Oh my god, competition. Yeah, no, that
needs to be, because that we can unpluck a whole different sort of thing there. But
you know. Oh my gosh. Well, Zoe, like we did it. We learned from our last podcast on time because
I know. I'm looking at the time.
It's not an hour.
Not an
getting
hour.
Better.
We did it. We are learning. Love it.
Mental breakthroughs aside, thank you guys so much for listening to this episode. And next week, we will be talking about our childhood fictional crushes. And I'm already going to say a disclaimer. I don't know if it's going to get sad because we're talking about childhood, but I hope it gets, not sad because we're talking about fictional crushes.
Look, I was going to say, it's going to be a mixture of comedy, sadness, realness, cringiness. I'm sure I'm going to sit there going, I hope my family does not fucking hear this. Like,
when you said cringiness, I literally nodded and I was like, that is exactly the word I would use.
It is that. That's the first thing I thought of was, oh my god, if my
cringe.
family ever heard this, I'd be so fucking embarrassed. But look, let's go. It's a real talk. Well, let's go. I'm sure we've all been there. So
I hope so. Dear God, I hope we're not the only fucking person. But thank you guys so much for listening, and please follow us at the Golden Nugget Podcast on Spotify, and we hope to see you next week. This has been your host, Mercy and Zoe.
Woo! Thanks, guys.
Okay, back to the mic.
No, stop it. I love it.